folks, in this video we're going to do something that's pretty standard but also pretty handy. It's oftentimes in 3D printing and additive manufacturing you'll have to either cap off or do something associated with piping work, especially if you're in industrial maintenance or repairing some things, hydraulics, that sort of stuff. And so you're always making little caps or something to insert into a space that pre-exists to maybe cap it off or to keep flow from coming through. In this case, we're creating a cap off for a water hose from a fishing boat so that water's not siphoning back in when it's not supposed to. And we have the dimensions, and the process is actually pretty simple. So this is the part we're going to create, and what we're going to do is essentially do it in one shot. A revolve or revolution is how we're going to design it. And the process is, as you see here, you can see the crazy shape that I've made here of a rectangle, little angle there, little notch up the top, and that's what we're going for. And you can see the primary dimensions here is that the cap itself is about 4 millimeters off from the inside of the tube edge, but outside of my part. And you can see the part is around 28 with a slight taper here to allow it to slide into the hose, with a little nub right here to actually allow us to put a clamp at this point on the hose and get some space. Okay, so I've already got that one made. Let's just make another one. When doing the revolve, it's all about planning out your cross section. So I'm going to create a new sketch here, pick a plane. We'll do it in the same plane. This one looks like it was revolved around that direction, so we'll do the same one this time. And I'll move it off the side a little bit. We'll start off by just making the line, as we said, somewhere in the 28 zone. Maybe I'll make this 22. We won't have to make it exactly the same size because that's going to be different from everyone's design. And I'll go ahead and angle in a little chamfer into the design so that the part can go in. And then I'll add a line here to come out to represent the cap, and I'll set it to 4. So far so good. Might as well go ahead and apply dimensions real quickly. We'll put a dimension from here to here, so pull it out to the side. You'll notice that when I'm doing these dimensions, I pull them way outside the drawing. Makes your life a lot easier later on. And I'm not too awful concerned about this angle. If I wanted to, I can apply a dimension here and here so that I could say it's going to be, whoops, I missed that. Try that again. And I'm just hitting Control-Z on my keyboard to undo those actions. There we go. We'll say it flares in at a 1.2. Nice, easy chamfer. Alright. At this point in time, I can actually use my offset tool by hitting O on my keyboard, selecting my line, and then pulling in. And I'm going to set this to be 2.4. And what I have up here is cool. It's fine. It's not necessarily that I need it up there, but I do need it down here. And I'm going to finish off this end of it by drawing a line over and down, letting Fusion kind of get a feel for what I'm after. And you'll notice that I'm not bothering trying to dimension any of this. What I have is the outside of the shape, which is crucial in terms of my design. That's what matters more so than anything else. Next thing, I'm going to add in a vertical line somewhere over here. And this is going to represent the axis that I'm going to use to revolve this feature. And I do have to set a dimension to this. I'm going to click from here to actually set it, and it's going to be 9.8. Because the actual size of my pipe or my hose this is going into, you know, there's the term ID and OD. ID standing for the internal diameter of a hose, and OD standing for the basically outside diameter. And my ID is about 19.6. Now we're not going to worry about having it perfect. It'll probably squeeze on there just fine, but that's what we're designing for. So the OD of the pipe doesn't really matter to me because my insert is going to go in this area, which is also why I'm not too concerned about a lot of stuff in here because it's irrelevant to our design. So anyway, that's handled. I've got a distance of how tall it is, how deep my little notch is, how far it comes in, and I'll just go ahead, and I've also got my axis that I'll be able to revolve around. So why don't we go ahead and do this. Notice that it is not actually sealed up because I haven't come in here and clicked. While we do this, why don't you go ahead and pause the video and recreate what I've done here. Please do that now. All right, so now I'm just going to add a few extra features to kind of close this thing off. I'm going to draw a line about right here, come over, and maybe I'll use a regular line. I could have used a spline right here to represent the top of the cap. And I am going to drag this over, I am going to drag this point over a little bit. Looks like it's locked onto it, so I won't be able to do that like I thought it would. There we go. We'll drag this over because I'm probably going to print off of this surface and print in this direction. So I'm probably going to print this way. So I'm going to use this as a flat surface and gently angle this up so that it doesn't require support material. In fact, I could probably make it a little bit better if I go ahead and do it a little bit more like this. Alright, and then all I have to do, I'll probably just draw a line straight down here. And the part itself doesn't really need to have anything special. Let's try that again. Here we go. Close it off. The inside, again, of the shape doesn't really matter. I could have made this solid if I wanted to, but I want to just make that little triangle in there just because I don't really need a lot of material. I really don't even need this. And I can even pull it back more if I want to, but it'll give my outside wall some strength. Alright, so now I've got a creation sort of like this. I know exactly how far off my axis is from the outside wall of my little cap. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and kind of recreate what I've done. You may need to go ahead and add a dimension. Let's go ahead and say that we're going to make the cap no more than 5 millimeters from this surface to the top. And again, you can kind of eyeball, put 4 out there. You can kind of eyeball this angle. If you feel like it's a little bit steep for your printer, you can always pull it over. At least I think I can. Let's try that again. Sometimes it's going to get locked in there on me. There we go. And I could be creative and go ahead and round this off if I wanted to. But this is a quick part that we're after. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and finish up creating what I've done. Alright, so now it's the easy part of doing the revolve. So I finish my sketch. I click my revolve tool. I select my cross sections, that one, and I then come over and select my axis there. It revolves at 360 degrees, and there's my part. And you look at it real quickly and you're like, well, that's not exactly the same thing as I made the first time, and that's okay because I changed some of the dimensions. It doesn't really matter. Your part might be slightly different in size one day when you need to plug a hose or something. But you will notice that I forgot to add in my little ring here to create like a little edge. And in case you're not familiar with what that's for, let me go ahead and give you an idea why we drew this in over on here. And why we have it is because sometimes when you put plugs sort of into pipes and hoses, you're going to add a clamp to clamp it on. So here's the hose coming over top of this, and that little plug's there, and it kind of pushes the wall, or that little nub's there, it pushes the wall out a little bit. And then you'll take actually a clamp right here, and you will clamp it nice and tight. These are actually screw clamps, or screw base clamps. And you're going to tighten it down right here. And so this nub helps to create a tightness and a strong point where once this clamp is tightened down, it can't pass over. So that's why we're adding this in. Now, do we have a lot of dimensional information for that? No, we do not. We're just kind of winging it, and it's pretty easy to do. I'll just edit my sketch by right-clicking on my sketch here, come back in, take a little spline, and draw out a little bit, and then back down, and say OK with a little check mark. It's a little bit big. Maybe pull it down this way, maybe grab the line, pull it down this way, and that looks about right. Again, you can eyeball stuff like this pretty often, but you'll notice they didn't revolve because I didn't go back and tell my revolve, my editing feature, to include that cross section now too. So there we go. So there we are. It's not exactly the same, but close enough. All right. So go ahead and pause the video and finish the revolve. Make sure to go back and add in your little nub around the edge. Do that now, please. All right, at this point in time, I can go ahead and switch to printing. And you could add in more features. You could actually go up here and maybe add some text and stick it into the part to actually label what size of hose this is for. But it's a quick and easy way to create a plug part. And you'll notice that we didn't take, it only took one sketch and one extrusion to make all this possible. You could go in and add a few extra features if you want to. I can kind of smooth some things off, but really I'm more interested in just making this part and getting it out there. So I'll probably flip it over and end up printing from this direction. And printing vertically. Now, on the print, I am going to be most concerned about this area right here, because this area is going to be likely my weakest area. And because it's a transition, and of course my layer to layer effect, or weak Z-axis is in this direction too. So I'm going to be kind of concerned that I hit my settings, so I'm getting a pretty tight part, especially if I can isolate my settings to get a really tight zone here in my printing. But a handy part, you also notice that my nub was designed so that it doesn't actually flare out too much, so you can easily build this without requiring any support material. And also I shouldn't need any support material down here when it actually gets started. My first design, I probably would need support material right here because that's a pretty steep angle. Alright, so that's it for this one. Hope you found a useful new feature to work with Fusion and some 3D printing on, and you never know when this might come in handy as something you use around the shop or at the workplace. Alright, thanks for watching. Check out some of our other videos, you might find something handy. We'll see you.